What is going on, y'all? This is Pay Me in Dividends, and today is February 8th, 2025. Now, before we jump into the video, let's go over the portfolio very quickly. No changes since yesterday. The market is closed today. It is Saturday, so we'll run through this very quickly. I'm at $95,941. I do have 1,000 shares of MSTY from YieldMax. I have 800 shares of MVDY from YieldMax. I also have XDTE, 500 shares of XDTE from Roundhill. If you watched the video I put out yesterday, you know that this is a new addition to my portfolio. So it is 500 shares of XDTE. I also have 500 shares of AIPI and 100 shares of AMZP, which is an Amazon option income ETF from Curve ETFs. Now, today I want to talk about MicroStrategy, right? MicroStrategy has been in the news. They've been in the headlines. If you just type in MicroStrategy, you can see a bunch of different articles from them. They just reported their earnings as well. And as we know, they hold a lot of Bitcoin. Now, they actually changed their name, right? So you can see that the website strategysoftware.com is up. It is live. And you can see their symbol has changed as well. Look at this. I mean, check this out, y'all. This is like, I mean, they're all in on Bitcoin. This is crazy, right? They've completely changed their logo. Their mission statement has always kind of remained the same as far as accumulating Bitcoin, but now they are really marketing themselves as a Bitcoin pretty much treasury, right? You're able to buy shares of MicroStrategy, and you're basically holding a proxy of Bitcoin because of their massive holdings in Bitcoin. And now they've just gone all in. I mean, they even have the Bitcoin symbol right here integrated into the new name, right? So they dropped the micro and now it is just strategy. But I noticed they have a couple different domains, right? This one is just strategy.com. And what I like about this is it has an historical chart of all of their purchases, I believe. Oh, here it is. So this chart right here, sailortracker.com, which I believe they'll probably still continue to update it. But I used to look at this website in order to see every time Michael Saylor purchased more Bitcoin, but now on their actual website they have that same information, which I think is pretty cool, right? And it's the same thing. They have the charts. You're able to see all of the acquisitions. All of these dots right here are when they acquire more Bitcoin, and over here you can see the actual dates of when they acquired Bitcoin and what their new position is in Bitcoin. So I mean, this is pretty crazy, y'all, right? They've gone all in on Bitcoin. They are really committed to pretty much being like the flagship Bitcoin company, right? Which is pretty nuts. So there's a couple things I want to go over though, right? Because let's look at some of these headlines, right? So I want to look at this one right here. MicroStrategy loses $670 million in quarter four. Now I want to show you guys why I'm not concerned about this, right? As somebody who is invested into MSTY, which is a YieldMax option income strategy, obviously, right? It's not directly, you're not directly invested into MicroStrategy or Bitcoin, but it is tied to MicroStrategy, right? So that is the reason why I'm so curious and eager to keep up with the information as far as what MicroStrategy has going on. So here's why I'm not concerned about this, right? So the FASB, right, the Financial Accounting Standards Board, has officially adopted fair value accounting for Bitcoin, right? So this is effective for the fiscal years beginning after December 15th, 2024. Now, MicroStrategy this past week just reported their earnings, and they reported at a loss, right? I don't think they really generate much money compared to other big tech companies. They don't. I mean, that's just the facts. But they hold a lot of Bitcoin. Now, in this earnings report that just happened this past week, they did not report Bitcoin, their Bitcoin holdings, and the pretty much the capital gains on those Bitcoin earnings. Now, going into the first quarter of 2025, they will be reporting those Bitcoin gains, right? So I believe that their earnings, their next earnings for quarter one of 2025 will be a lot different. Now, there's two ways you can look at it, right? One way I look at it is, well, everybody kind of knows their strategy already. Obviously, they're very, very transparent about all of their purchases in Bitcoin. It's already a very, well-known fact that they acquire Bitcoin. Their main focus is acquiring Bitcoin. So there's one school of thought that could say, well, is this Bitcoin acquisition already baked into the price because they've already been so transparent about it, and so maybe the stock will not go up in price like we think it will when they actually report their Bitcoin holdings on their earnings for the next quarter, or will it still have a positive effect because it'll be validation, or it will kind of solidify them in the strategy that they've been using once they come out with their first quarter 2025 earnings, and they're able to actually use the fair value accounting for Bitcoin. So it remains to be seen, right? We'll see for 2025 first quarter earnings. I believe it's still a couple months away, and so we'll see exactly how that pans out for them. But I'm pretty optimistic, right? I'm pretty optimistic. Again, they've gone all in on it. And here's another thing I want to share with you guys, right? There's a lot of institutional money in this company, right? So we can see that this company, Carrillo LLC, buys 879 shares of MicroStrategy. This was as of February 8th, which is today, right? So we can, if we scroll down here, we can also see that there are a lot of other big institutions that are putting money into MicroStrategy, right? So we see National Bank of Canada grew its holdings in shares of MicroStrategy by 746% during the third quarter. National Bank of Canada now owns over 20,000 shares of the software maker stock, right, of MicroStrategy, right? So we can also see B. Riley Wealth Advisors has bought a new position in MicroStrategy, valued at almost $250,000, right? Or a little over $250,000 at the time of the purchase, right? There's another company here, Wellington Management Group, that now owns over 6,000 shares of MicroStrategy, valued over $1 million, and so on and so forth. You can see US Bancorp has increased its holdings as well. Virtue Financial LLC has increased their earnings as well by over 10,000%, right? They actually hold 224,000 shares, valued over $37 million. And if we look over here as well, and we look at the top institutional investors, we can see some very big names here, right? We can see Vanguard, we can see BlackRock, we can see State Street, and these companies have billions of dollars invested into MicroStrategy, right? We can see Vanguard combined has almost $10 billion invested into MicroStrategy. We can see BlackRock has over $2 billion. State Street has over 900 million, almost close to $1 billion worth of MicroStrategy. So I think this is a good sign for not only institutional investors, but it trickles down, right? And it trickles down to people like you and I, the retail investors. And so I think this is a good thing, not only for MicroStrategy, but also MSTY, right? If you're invested into MSTY, I think that is a good thing as well. There's another article that I came across today. It says KBW, which is an investment bank, says shares of MicroStrategy, now called Strategy, to jump nearly 70%. Company may be added to S&P 500. Now, this is just a headline, and we know that headlines sometimes can be a bit sensationalized, but I want to read a little more into this. Now, I don't have a subscription for CNBC, nor will I be signing up for one. I just don't care to. So we'll go over to this article right here, and they're basically talking about the same thing here, right? KBW predicts MicroStrategy stock explosion sets a $560 target on Bitcoin play, right? Basically a $560 target on MicroStrategy stock. Now, if we go down here, we can see that this is basically just telling the requirements that it takes to join the S&P 500 index. But I don't want to read too much into this. I think the bigger point here is the fact that they are really, really being talked about. They've already been added into the NASDAQ, which I made a video on that a couple months ago. They were added into the NASDAQ, I believe sometime in November, along with Palantir, which was huge for the company, right? For those two companies to be added to the NASDAQ was huge. So now, and that actually became a reality, right? It was just kind of hearsay in the beginning, and then MicroStrategy and Palantir actually were added to the NASDAQ. So I think going based off of that, now that there is S&P 500 talks, that may be a possibility sometime in the future. So I just think it's interesting. I think it's good press and it's good news for the company as a whole, but we got to remember it's really all dependent on how Bitcoin performs, right? I do believe, I'm not the biggest crypto investor, but I do believe Bitcoin will continue to go up in price over time, right? We can see all time it is up over 21,000%. Over the past year, it is up over 100%, which has outperformed the S&P 500 tremendously, right? And year to date, it's up 3%. So Bitcoin has been holding up pretty well. It's about even as of now. And, I'll be interested to see how it continues to perform moving into the future and how it affects the price of MicroStrategy and therefore the price of MSTY. As we can see today, MSTY is about even. Over the past 5 days, it is up 6%. We did take a dip over this past month, right, with all of the MicroStrategy talk and all of the DeepSeek, all of that stuff, all the NVIDIA stuff, MicroStrategy possibly facing a big tax bill on unrealized gains going into 2026. So all of those headlines have kind of affected the price of MicroStrategy and MSTY over the past few weeks, but it's still holding up pretty strong, right? If we look at 1 year out, MSTY is still up 26%, and they're still paying massive dividends, right? So the next dividend that'll be paid for MSTY, it'll actually be announced on the 12th, right, which is about 4 days from now. It'll be interesting to see how much they pay. Right now, they are paying over 100% dividend yield. We can see that their last payment was about $2.27 a share. It was lower than their previous few payments, right? But we can see their lowest payment ever was actually about $1.85. So this is not the lowest that we've ever seen, but it sure is not the highest that we've ever seen either. So I'm very curious to see how the volatility has played over the past 30 days and how much premium they were able to extract out of the option market, and therefore how much the distribution per share is going to be for this upcoming dividend. But either way it goes, it's still going to be a massive dividend yield compared to your traditional, dividend stocks or dividend ETFs. And it'll just be fascinating to see, right? So I did come across this website here that basically shows the implied volatility of MicroStrategy, which is really kind of what affects how much premium is extracted from options. Now, based off of my research, anywhere from 50 to 80% of implied volatility is pretty high, meaning that you're going to get more premium out of these option contracts. So as we can see, the current IV, the current implied volatility for MicroStrategy is around 78, which is high compared to other companies. But if we look at it compared to their 52-week average, it is below, right? So it's kind of trending below, which makes sense when you look at the payments, right? October, it was over $4 a share. November, it was over $4 a share. And then it went down a bit in December, and then it went down even more in January. So it makes sense that the IV, or the implied volatility, has decreased, which basically resulted in a decrease in distribution per share. But again, it's still a very, very high dividend yield. And again, I look at it like this: if Bitcoin continues to go up in the future and MicroStrategy continues to stick to their plan, MicroStrategy will continue to grow, and MSTY will continue to grow and continue to generate massive dividends. So you guys let me know in the comments, what do you think? What do you think about Misty? I know people love Misty. Some people don't love Misty, but you guys let me know in the comments, what do you think? What do you think about MicroStrategy's new branding? I'm not gonna lie, personally, I kind of like it. I think it's cool that they're not straying away from their strategy. They've, no pun intended, they literally have named their company Strategy. They dropped the micro from it, and they've also integrated the Bitcoin logo into their company, right? So they're very transparent. You know exactly what you're going to get from them. And I kind of like it, right? Michael Saylor is kind of sticking to his guns. He's been investing heavily into Bitcoin for years now. We can scroll down here and we can see all the way back to 2020. And I'm pretty sure he's been investing in Bitcoin on behalf of MicroStrategy since like 2017. But as far as the data that we have available to us right now in this video, it's at least 5 years that he's been accumulating massive amounts of Bitcoin, and he's really honing in on this strategy. And I think it's cool. You guys let me know in the comments, what do you think? And as always, I appreciate you guys stopping by the channel, and I will catch you in the next video.